Hi everyone! I want to show you how to make that paper flower on this cute card that I cased from Zipper C98 on Split Coast Stampers. Used the InStitches wheel, which I converted to a clear mount stamp, and if you missed that one, you might want to check out how to do that on my other video. But I also had never made one of these paper flowers. I've seen them in all different sizes, made from cardstock, designer paper, the scallop punch, the blossom punch. I wanted to try one. They were so easy, we loved it. So let me share with you how to make a paper flower such as this. Now I've chosen to use cardstock. Cardstock is pretty stiff, as you know. You could also use designer paper. If you use cardstock, you're probably going to want to peel it, okay, to make it thinner layers to work with. You don't have to, but I recommend it. So find your crimper in the bottom of a drawer, because I'm sure you haven't used it in a long time. In fact, Stampin' Up! Just discontinued it. But of course we don't get rid of such things. I'm putting all three of my flowers in here at once. And I've already sent, you can see from the lines, the crimp lines on my flower, I've already crimped it at least once. In fact, this was probably the third time I sent it through. The reason you crimp your cardstock is so that you can start to break down the fibers. And then we're going to take that one step further. And I'm going to continue to break down the fibers just using my bone folder. Kind of like you're curling it, but I'm not really. Okay, do one side, and then you're going to turn it over on the other side. Now be careful, because you're going to feel that it's not as stiff anymore, and you don't want to rip a petal off. Okay, so I'm breaking down the fibers. Don't forget to do the middle. As you do that, you should notice, if you just check a petal, yep, it's starting to separate. One thing you're going to notice about Stampin' Up! Cardstock and love about it is that it is the same color all the way through. I had a customer tell me the other day, she was impressed by this because she bought some cardstock elsewhere at a craft store, and I guess when she creased it, it looked white on the creases, because a lot of cardstock isn't dyed the whole way through, and ours is. This is also called faux suede, if you're interested. Like I told my customers, picture this fuzzy look with brown cardstock, a shade of brown, maybe a chocolate chip or espresso, and you peel it like that, make a masculine card. Of course not in a flower shape, but it does lend itself well to that. Okay, so now I have started with 3 crimped flowers, broken down the fibers, used the bone folder, peeled them, so now I have 6 pieces. Okay, so now making the flower is as simple as this. Take your mat, start stacking them. Of course, you probably want to alternate the petals, but it's not anything you have to really take a lot of time to do. Stack them all, take your paper piercing tool, put a hole in it, and I always leave mine down and push my brad into it. You can use an antique brad. Whoops, I did miss one. You can use an antique brad, a rhinestone brad, whatever you want, but it is a good way to hold it together. I just used an old Regal Rose, I think it's Regal Rose, brad, okay? Then what you do is you take the top layer, pull it all to the middle, and you try not to pull up on it, but just kind of squish it together. Again, nothing real scientific here. Okay, take the next layer all the way up to the middle. I get it all the way to the middle. Squish, and you continue to do this with all 6 layers. By the way, you don't have to have 6 layers. I've seen it done with 5 flowers. Again, try the scallop punch, small and large, any of the flowers. Use designer series paper, which you wouldn't have to peel. Use a pretty brad in the middle. I didn't use a real pretty brad because we're going to cover it with something else. Again, I was copying someone else's card and I liked her idea, so went for it. Alright, boy, that doesn't look like much, but when I start to fan it out, you do see that it does look like a flower and like a carnation. My next step was to get a sponge dauber, and I took the Raspberry Ripple ink because this is the Primrose Petals paper. I wanted a shade darker, and I just quickly dab some ink on the edges to give it some depth. But think about this: smooch spritz, two-way glitter, or two-way pen, two-way glue pen with some glitter on the edges. Okay, or create your own shimmer spray with our new spritz bottles and shimmer paint. Okay, options are endless. So there I have a little in-depth. Now I find the middle again, because again I'm copying someone else's card and I liked her idea, so oh, we gotta find the middle. Where is that, Brad? There it is. Okay, the next step, what I did was I took one of our vintage faceted buttons, I put a glue dot on the flat side, put it in there, and then we added a rhinestone in the middle. So you can see here, okay, what it looks like. That's how you make a paper flower, just one paper flower, but again, your options are endless. Have fun,